Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Minnesota Rack Stars podcast. And first off, I just want to thank everyone for a great response on our last podcast with the new rule changes at Camp Ripley. If you haven't listened to that one yet, I highly recommend going back and listening to it. And this week, we actually have one of our partners on our podcast with us. It is Justin from Skullcraft, and he's going to kind of walk us through the process of what it takes to create a beautiful-looking European mount, and then also some of the steps that we need to take as hunters to make sure we preserve that head so that he can do the best job possible and give you a great finished product. So with that, we're going to get to the podcast, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Hey, welcome everybody to this week's episode of the Minnesota Rack Stars podcast, and today I am joined with Justin from Skullcraft, as you can see behind me. Justin, thanks for joining me this week.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming over.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet setup he's got right now. If you're watching on YouTube, we're inside, I don't know, what do you call this, your shop, your office?
The Beetle barn.
The Beetle barn. It's pretty sweet. Justin contacted me this past off season and was interested in partnering with the Minnesota Rack Stars, and it's been a great relationship so far with Skullcraft, and we're looking to help you guys kind of get going. I mean, this is you guys' first year doing this, correct?
Yep, first year.
Now, what kind of got you in the groove to do this?
Honestly, last year I shot for sure my biggest year I've ever shot, and getting quotes from taxidermists and stuff like that. Some of the numbers were pretty high, and yeah. I thought, and only assuming next year, numbers are going to go higher, inflation and all that is just going to keep going up. So I thought, well, what's the next most affordable thing for a guy to do? And seeing those numbers going up, I figured a lot of people are going to be second questioning their decision on, this is kind of a buck that's on the edge,
Mm-hmm.
You see a lot of these guys that have wall mounters that are, they might mean something to them, but they were really questioning whether or not they're going to do it or not. And, next best thing would be your mount. So,
yeah, and I've thought about that this past year too, where all of a sudden everything starts skyrocketing. It's like, well, I'm going to be a little more, I don't know, picky when it comes to deciding, okay, am I going to put this on the wall or not? And if it is one of those in-betweeners like you're talking about, boom, European mount, I mean, it's a pretty sweet option. We've seen some of your work here, and it's phenomenal. You do a very good job. You explained a lot of things to me. We're actually going to put out a video for Justin here. He kind of did a walkthrough, step-by-step process, and we'll talk about that a little bit here on the podcast on what it takes to create a European mount. But, just the step-by-step process of all this stuff, it's really intriguing to me and how it works and whatnot. But, yeah, instead of paying for, I don't know what other states are charging, but, I mean, it's around that $1,000 for a head mount now.
I paid $850 for a shoulder mount.
Yeah.
Last year.
And like you said, it's not going to go down.
I've heard numbers getting close to that $1,200.
Yeah, it's insane. But the thing is, though, with the price of everything else going up, I mean, everybody has to go up with their prices, so we don't blame you for going up. It's just one of those tough things that, tough pill to swallow. But it's an addiction. Hunting's an addiction. And you know what? It's almost here.
Not a cheap one.
No, it's not. So what's the season? I know we talked a little bit here when I pulled in. What's the season looking like for you so far?
For me, I'm going to take a nice slow start. I'm not one of those guys that go all summer scouting, finding that buck in the beans, that kind of thing. So I've got a early October hunt planned for South Dakota mule deer. And after that, I'm going to come home, try to get my bow out a few times. I always like to hunt Sherburne Wildlife Refuge.
Oh, yeah.
Get in there, do some hard stuff, never shoot anything. But, it makes you feel good that you're working hard for it.
A typical Minnesota season.
There's been a few good sightings, but I've come home empty-handed every time.
Yeah, well, that's what keeps us going back out there. If we had luck every single time we'd go out, it wouldn't be as enjoyable. It's about the rough in it and getting after it and getting your butt kicked multiple times that keeps you going back.
Yeah, no kidding.
So you guys do much for food plots or anything like that on your own private property?
So my dad's got two little chunks of land. He's got 14 and a half acres that the house is on, and we do a little one there, probably a half acre at most. And then he also has a 30-acre chunk, probably about a mile west of his house. And we've got, in total, probably maybe an acre and a quarter.
Sure.
Out there.
Okay. What do you got in there?
We did some stuff in the acre and a quarter for a lot for pheasants.
Sure.
And, some sorghum, and the sorghum mix. It's actually a Dirty Bird.
Oh, yeah.
From
Domain.
From Domain.
You bet. I've heard some good things about that.
I've heard some good stuff from those guys.
Yep.
I actually planted Comeback Kid,
Nice.
and it is looking like a lush turf.
I just planted about 2 weeks ago. We're in the second week of August right now. I think it was 2 weeks ago I planted probably quarter acre most of hot chick, and we got dumped on with rain, and that it's just looking green as can be, and I'm like, let's go. I'm pumped. You get that good green, lush, new growth. There's nothing better, nothing more nutritious than that, and I'm looking forward to it. I actually got my brassicas in already as well, just because I saw a good thunderstorm coming, and I'm like, you know what, this is what I do. And so what I do is this year I did it, and 2 years ago I think I did the same thing, and then 3 or 4 years ago I did the same thing, and I've had luck 2 out of 3 times. So it just
catching that rain.
Well, it's the right rain.
Yeah.
So I didn't till it.
Mm-hmm.
I just sprayed it, but I broadcasted my seed into the weeds. There was some rye knocked down. I brush hogged it. But I just broadcasted right into the standing weeds, rye, whatever, and then I sprayed it immediately after.
Mm-hmm.
So the seed's on the ground, I sprayed right over top of it. And the 2 times it worked, we had
for that rain.
We had thunderstorms,
Yeah.
driving rains, like over an inch of rain. And those 2 years it worked. The year it didn't, we had little light showers, and that just wasn't enough moisture to get that seed to germinate, and it was a failure. So I saw this thunderstorm coming in. I'm like, I'm going to give it a try, and, I mean, those guys are up probably 4 inches right now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Brassicas.
So about a week and a half ago, we got after my dad's food plot right behind the house, and we put their Domain's sugar beets. Can't remember what that one's called.
Is it Beat Down?
Beat Down.
Beat
That's
Down.
what it was.
Yep.
And the day after, it started raining, and then what was it, like 4 or 5 days after, we got 4 inches of rain here at the house.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep. So hopefully that takes off. It's been under a week since I planted, so I haven't been back out there to check it out.
That's checking food plots for me is like checking trail cameras.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to get back out there and see what's going on. Like, grow, baby, grow.
When you get like a couple hundred yards away, and you're like trying to see what's growing, and then you get up there and it's like, oh, dirt.
Yep. No, I picked up a couple good bucks. Actually 3 good bucks on multiple properties this past week, so I'm pretty jacked up. My uncle and I went out to South Dakota. We got good pictures of deer out there, and I should have some good target bucks to go after. But the thing is, you got to remember, I mean, when you get pictures of these deer, like immediately, like, oh, that's my deer I'm going after, and you always got to take a step back and be realistic, because how often does it happen you end up getting your target buck? We were talking before how hard it is to hunt Minnesota, because A, yes, there's a lot of hunters out there, but also B, there's so many small parcels that, everybody's got a 40 or 20 or 15 acres, and what do? They put about 6 people on each one of those parcels and, just beat the living heck out of it. But that's why I think this year I'm going to kind of focus on a little more early season to try to, maybe take one down if the time is right and the pattern's right and all that good stuff. Hopefully the food plots, I don't know, I just have a good feeling about the food plots this year that I got in that might be able to draw something out just before dark, and I leave enough cover in my food plots to get them to feel comfortable coming out. It's not just a flat bare field with things growing up. I planted pine trees out in my fields to break it up a little more, so I mowed in between the pine trees, so there's probably 4-foot tall weeds where I didn't grow in those strips, so that breaks it up a lot for those deer to come out. So yeah, it'll be interesting, but I don't know. I'm feeling optimistic this year that something's going to happen, but I don't know. We'll see. It's always exciting. This is a very exciting time of year for all hunters. I don't care who you are because it's right around the corner, but also these bucks are basically full grown right now. So what you're seeing on trail camera, I mean, that's what you're going to get. So it's pretty exciting.
Waiting for that fuzz to come off.
Yep, no doubt. So I'm going to ask you a question I usually ask all my guests, and we're going to push rewind here. I want you to give me a detailed description of your very first hunting memory or something that really stands out to you, in your younger days.
My very first is definitely probably faking sick from school on the day that Dad and all the uncles go out to deer camp, firearm opener, that Friday. Fake sick. Cry. Probably 10 years old.
He's got the fever.
Just begging. And, I would go out with my dad scouting every year since probably he was thinking I was old enough to walk through the woods.
Yeah, there's been multiple times. I ended up getting sick a lot more in college, around deer hunting season. I was sick all the time. I don't know if it was COVID back then already or what I was getting, but it was bad. Like
that fever.
I applaud schools that give their students off
Bemidji.
For hunting.
I think Bemidji does that.
Bemidji State?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think something like that.
I know when I was going to high school, it was always like there was a half day in there, then no school the next day or something. And I don't know, it's nice having that option because, in our neck of the woods, central, northern Minnesota, I mean, it's almost a religion hunting,
Yeah, I might be wrong on that Bemidji, but I do know that Bemidji has a gun locker.
Oh, really?
For their students.
Jeez, I should have went to Bemidji.
I heard that. Bemidji. Like my grandma.
Yep, that's
Bat tree.
Yep, I get that from your guys' neck of the woods. That's why I say Bemidji.
Yep.
I get that from your neighbor over there, those Petrons. That's what they call it, Bemidji over there.
Andy.
Yep. I actually talked to him on the way here. He's a character. We're gonna have a podcast with Andy. Andy, I know you listen to these. We're going to do a podcast, man. I'm calling you out. I know a lot of people that enjoy listening to you.
You need some Andyisms.
Well, the thing is if Andy's going to come on this podcast, you're going to have to make sure that no children listen to the podcast.
You got to have that the little E square explicit.
And I'm not going through and editing and bleeping out everything, but
then you'd ruin it.
Yeah. Hey,
every other word.
If you guys want to hear this Andy on the podcast, make sure you message me or comment on this post here that I'll put this podcast out on. Let me know and let Andy know we want to hear him on the podcast. I want to light it up. We need Andy on this podcast. He's got some good stories.
Guarantee a Nate Popp would watch that one.
Yeah. Oh shoot. But so let's talk about your process here a little bit. What you got going on with the Beetles and all that good stuff, and maybe kind of break it down. Okay, let's start here. Somebody shoots a deer.
Yep.
And they're thinking, hey, I want to get a Euro mount.
Mm-hmm.
What do they need to do?
Best thing that you could do would be you shoot your deer, you get it skunned. Number one rule, when you cut that head off, don't get too close to the skull. Because I've got some that I've come in and it's sawed off through the back of the brain cavity.
Sure.
One, that makes it a lot harder to hang it because most of these hangers are going through that brain opening.
Sure. Yep.
So from there, you shoot your deer, cut it off, either freeze it or get it to me, and I'll take care of it. What you don't want to do let it sit on the side of your garage for 2-3 months, and then decide, you know what, I think I'll do this. Because the process is going to take longer. You're going to get a better result. And, that blood staining is one of the big things that takes a long time to get out. And it just makes the process so much harder.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that must be part of the freezing thing then, so that blood isn't staining as much anymore, or what? Like, what's the freezing portion do if you freeze it?
So the freezing just kind of pauses everything, right?
Sure.
And anything that's riding on the skull, just I'm gonna have to thaw it out in order to skin it.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you do that yourself.
Sure.
Thank you very much. It saves me.
Yep.
But it just kind of pauses everything, right? And anything that's riding on the skull, for me, is causing issues because these beetles over here, if they get taken over by mites, it'll kill the whole colony.
Sure. So there you go. So you get it to a taxidermist as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's number one.
Yep.
If you're out of state and you're bringing it back, obviously there's going to be some time in between or whatever. I mean, is it going to hurt it that bad to be there a few days or so?
No, it's not going to hurt it that bad.
Okay.
But just the easiest thing to do is don't hold on to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless there's just a timing thing on when you can get it here or whatever, get it to me as soon as you can.
Should they put it in a bag, like freeze it inside of a bag? I know, like when I come back from out of state, I'll put the head, leave the antlers out of the bag, but I tie the bag shut, more or less to keep it from blood getting everywhere and whatnot.
I mean, that part doesn't really matter to me. If you can get it in a bucket, great. Otherwise, I'll take it however I can get it.
So you get the head, then what?
I get the head, I skin it. I make sure that all the extra bones are off. So I'll take right at the occipital joint, the last vertebrae that connects to the skull.
Mm-hmm.
Take it off right there, carefully, because all these blade marks that you're making when you're skinning will end up scuffing or cutting into the bone.
Use a scalpel, or what do you use?
I've tried a bunch of different things. I bought one of these. I think it's Works.
Okay.
I got the little belt-driven knife.
Oh, really? Okay.
Knife sharpener.
Sure. Yep.
I bought one of those to try, but otherwise I've been using replaceable blades.
Okay.
Which are surgically sharp.
Yep.
But it's starting to get expensive. Going through those.
Yep.
Yeah, you trim up one deer head and then you notice on the second one it's like.
Yep.
That's a lot duller than when you started.
Yeah, I know. I think I've done one before.
Actually, I got him right here.
And
see if my cord's long enough.
Yeah, it's a process to try to get that off there. Whenever you're caping or taking the hide off, but there it is. Huh?
Yeah. So I've been using these Havlons. They make a longer. What is that, like 6 inch? It could be cleaned up a little bit.
Sure.
And then the little short like paring.
Yep.
Knife. The short one's nice for like, really. It's a little stiffer.
Okay.
But the long one's nice because there's a lot more sharp edge to it.
Yep.
So it, can get after it a little bit better. But I bought this little Rapala. I figured, with that Works sharpener, I might be able to get a little bit more life out of it, save myself some money.
So you're not using gutting knife to take it apart.
I'm not using the outdoor edge. Although that outdoor edge or the swing blade, that's probably the best gutting knife that I've ever had.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know if you have any ties with any knife companies.
I don't.
If you could, get with Outdoor Edge.
Yeah,
those guys are bomb.
That's good to know.
But so it comes in, skins. I skin it, and then I trim off as much as possible off that head. So with bucks, you take that bottom jaw off. If you want the bottom jaw, I can save it. I can put it back together, glue it back up, wire it up so that it, it looks like a full head.
Mm-hmm.
Most people just do your typical top jaw.
Yep.
And from there, I get the brains out. And best way to do that, I don't know if it's going to be too gory for people, but I take a...
They don't want to listen to it. They don't have to.
Yeah, they're listening to the wrong the wrong episode. But I take a spade bit.
Okay. Yep.
3/4 inch spade bit fits right through that brain opening. Scramble them.
Yep.
And I take my air compressor.
Right. Okay.
All comes right out.
Yeah.
And I usually put that into a bag
Sure.
because brains are fantastic for these guys.
Oh, sure.
Probably the best part of the whole animal, of the whole skull for them,
The beetles like it.
as far as reproduction and
Sure.
that kind of jazz.
Okay.
So then, I get it all trimmed up and everything is off: eyeballs, brains, bottom jaw, any extra meat in between, like that eye socket.
Yep.
And right behind the eye socket, you can see that there's a little space there, like right in between the eyes and the ears.
Yep.
And get all that stuff out of there, and then it goes right back into the freezer. A double protection. So you might have gotten to me frozen. I put it right in the freezer. So if you don't freeze it, not a big deal. But to help you prolong it, like say if you can't get it to me for a month, put it in the freezer.
Sure.
If you can get it to me within 2 weeks, if it's not going to be 80 degrees,
Yep.
which November, typically not.
Right.
But
Right.
it doesn't have to be frozen. Just get it to me. I'm going to freeze it anyways, just to protect my bugs. But, so I'll freeze it. After I've got space in the tank, I'll grab it out of the freezer in order from, whoever comes in first.
Yep.
Goes into the freezer.
With the
or
beetles.
goes into the beetle tank. And beetles will make quick work of it. Typically, they'll have it cleaned up in 2 to 3 days.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How fast they can clean that
Yeah.
up.
And they clean off everything.
That's crazy. And I don't know. I've seen people do like they'll bury the skull in the dirt and
And then 2 years later, they come back.
yeah right. But I'm looking at a cow head right now that they have in here, and yeah, they're working on it
24/7.
There's actually you're gonna be happy. There's one beetle riding another one right now.
Ooh, they're
so
making
you're
babies. They're laying 4 to 5 eggs a day.
They're getting after it in
Yep.
there. They're not just eating.
Repopulate. Keep working.
Yeah, right.
Get back to it.
So it goes in the beetle tank here, the tank, and then what? Would you say 3 days for a deer?
Yeah.
And then you said for something bigger, or you said bear.
A bear.
It's a lot longer.
For this process, no.
No, okay.
They should be able to do it in about the
sure.
same time.
What's the
As long as you
degrees?
get it, as long as you get it all cleaned up, brain out, eyeballs out, everything.
Sure.
It's not going to take much longer. No.
Sure.
I usually got them both trimmed up about equally well, and the actual skull size is very similar. Yeah.
No, I see a piece of hair on the skull. They eat that hair too?
No.
No, they don't?
They won't.
Okay.
No, but they will eat the leather that's behind it. So if you put, for example, I did this once. I was curious. I may or may not have shot a squirrel in my yard in the city. Not out of the window. But I was like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. It was just like an explosion of fur.
Really?
Just hair everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, so I just kind
Touch
of
it.
like stirred it up and
Huh.
made it disappear. But
Interesting.
yeah, so they'll eat everything but that hair.
Yeah. Wow.
It'll take a little longer. It gets kind of dried out, and then it's kind of like last pickings.
Sure. So you got roughly 3 days on a deer.
Yep.
Cleaning everything off, and then what?
So let's say I've had it for a week, right? I get it scun, I get it froze for a couple days, goes into the beetles for another couple days. So now I've got it for a week. From there, it goes into degreasing. Degreasing is a crucial step to making your heads white.
Mm-hmm.
What that is I put that deer in a bucket of water with Dawn dish soap and ammonia, and I'm doing weekly water changes to pull all that grease out of that bone. And as soon as that water starts to get clear, so you'll notice as soon as you put a skull in water, that's not clean or not degreased, it will turn cloudy.
Okay.
And once that starts to really clear up, I'll let it dry. And typically that's 6 to 8 weeks, depending on how it came to me. And I'll let it dry and start analyzing, like, okay, is there still grease here? Is there not grease here? Can it go to whitening? Does it have to go back to degreasing?
Mm-hmm.
And if it goes back to degreasing, you're just back at it.
Keep going.
Back at weekly water changes, keeping that water at 115 degrees. And just staying consistent. And if it's done, then it goes into what I call the whitening stage, which I use a 28% peroxide. And I put it in a shoe tote like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And typically most of these deer just fit right in here perfectly.
Oh, yeah?
It looks like it'd be small.
I know, right?
But that big one right there
Fit right in there.
is just like perfect. Like it just barely bulged to the side a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'll put it in there, and I'll fill that bottom of this jug just above the teeth. Maybe just like to the bottom of the eyes. In between there. And then I'll take a paper towel, split it right where the antlers are, and I'll wrap it around there. And what that does is that helps hold that peroxide over the top of the skull. So I don't have to completely submerge the skull in it.
Okay.
And I'll take a turkey baster. I got one up there.
Yep.
And I'll once or twice a day, come out there and just baste it. Keep that skull wet.
Sure.
And it'll take about 2 days max. And I'll pull it out of there, back in a bucket, and just let it sit and dry. So empty bucket.
Okay.
Sit and dry.
Okay.
And I'll analyze it. I'll let it sit for about a week. And I'll make sure that there is no yellowing. And I'm going to be the first one to say I'm going to offer a no yellowing guarantee.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
If my skull yellows on you, bring it back to me. I'll fix it.
Yeah, you were saying that people, if they have European mounts, then over time they'll yellow if they're not done properly, right?
Granted, if it's not in your smoke room,
sure. Yep.
If it's not in your garage,
Yep.
I'll be able to tell.
Controlled environment.
If the whole thing is yellow, that's not for me.
Sure.
If it's yellow in the typical problem spots,
yep.
That's because I know I'm not going to send something out that's going to be completely yellow.
Right.
It's not going to be the color of the marshmallow water tank we got sitting right here.
Yeah.
But you'll know.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a few spots right behind the eyes and on top of the teeth that turn yellow. I've actually got one in my house right now that I can bring out here.
Oh, really?
I could have brought out here and showed you. It's not done by me. I paid a guy $100, probably the biggest name in this area, and yeah, it's yellow already. And that was only 2 years ago.
So, along that topic, what should people look for in a taxidermist? Should they ask to see some,
Mm-hmm.
finished products of other, critters that they've done before, or what should they do? What should be like kind of a checklist on going to a taxidermist when you're looking at a European mount?
What I would do, honestly, is if a taxidermist tells you that they can have your skull back to you in a month, it's typically
Red
not
flag.
possible.
Yeah, red flag. Sure.
I know everybody wants to hear that turnaround time being as short as possible, but I'm promising you it's not what you want.
Okay.
Time is money.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But it takes time for good work.
Right. No, that makes sense. So turnaround time, looking at 1 month. Anything else?
I would say, if they're boiling it, make sure that they're not a rolling boil kind of guy. Like, I'm not going to say a good boiler, because I don't agree with boiling, right? A good boiler is going to simmer, not a rolling boil.
Okay.
And I don't know what it is, but that rolling boil just eats the bone. You'll notice a lot of the the nose pieces come off and
Fall apart,
the inside turbinates in the nostrils are gone.
Sure.
And when they get into that rolling boil, they just
I've boiled a couple in my day.
how'd it go?
Brutal. Brutal. I mean, we ended up getting everything off there.
Yeah.
But that reeked. It reeked
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
And I'm in your shop here right now, the Beetle barn. I don't smell anything that resembles brains.
If you open that tank.
I open that, it will. But when you're boiling something,
Yeah.
you got to have it open.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care if you're outside, inside. I think we did it in my neighbor's garage over a few cases of Busch Light, but we did it over there. And holy Lord, yeah, that was brutal. And the thing is, you boil it, and then we tried shaking everything off of there, and trying cutting everything off there. A lot easier.
It's a lot of work.
Let Beetles take care of it.
Yeah.
And getting most of the work done right there.
Yep.
And it's going to be, down to the bone.
Another really, really good way to clean skulls is a process called maceration.
Okay.
So what that is you're setting the skull in a bucket of water, just plain water, nothing added to it, except sometimes people they call bromelain tablets.
Okay.
Like a septic.
Mm-hmm.
So what that does is add bacteria. And what it's doing is the bacteria itself is eating everything off of it.
Sure.
But that's kept at, if you can keep a bucket of water at 95 degrees, and if you can handle the smell.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, there's a reason why I don't do it.
Yeah.
Because it's, you're not keeping beetles alive. You're not heating a enclosure and having bedding and having to worry about food all year long. That would be the way to do it. But I just can't take that smell.
Yeah, brutal.
I did a set of bear claws like that one time, and that was when I was in my garage yet.
Yeah.
I think my wife was gonna kill me.
I was gonna bring her up. Say, even if you were doing it out here, your clothes and yourself, you would probably reek terrible. She'd probably say, "Find a different room to sleep in."
She would be like, "Please stop. You could make $1 million a year doing this, and I still wouldn't be with you."
I believe it.
Bless her.
Yeah, right.
She's dealt with a lot.
I could imagine. So what was her take? When you said you wanted to start doing this, what was her first impression on all this stuff?
I think she was kind of like, why?
Yep.
And, the first initial drawing is, a little bit more money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Side cash. But I think I just wanted to see as many deer as possible.
Yeah.
I love deer.
Yep.
I love deer hunting. Of all the things I've done in my life, I think, so I played competitive golf for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I would stop playing golf if someone said you got to pick one.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably be picking deer hunting.
Yep. I play amateur baseball yet. Our state tournament starts this next week, and
if I told you had to quit baseball,
in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
If I had to choose one or the other, especially the way my body feels right
well,
now at 39 years old.
Your arm's
right
about to tell you that right now. What do you mean?
My back, you name it. It's brutal. But, yeah, the sad part is like shooting bow. Like I didn't shoot enough bow this off season. This happened to me last year too.
Same.
Where all of a sudden, when you first start shooting, all of a sudden those back muscles tighten up a little bit on you. Well, I shot like 3 arrows a few weeks ago or whatever, and I'm like, that's all I'm going to do. I might shoot one more here and there, but I'm waiting until the state tournament's over, and then I'll start ripping a bunch of, arrows off and getting things tuned in. But I shot, like I said, a couple weeks ago, and my bow feels just like it did last year and spot on and all that good stuff. But, yeah, I kind of put off shooting bow just because darn baseball gets in the way, and I don't want to mess up my arm right now. I can barely throw the way it is. I don't need anything else going on.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I wish I could shoot. I wish I could just walk out and shoot.
Yeah.
Like I got too many people.
Mm-hmm. But you're talking about like that adrenaline rush, like from hunting. That's what it is. It's the adrenaline rush. It's the hard work you put in. I mean, it's so comparable to all the competitive sports out there. But as you get older, you stop playing competitive sports, whether you lose the passion for it or your body doesn't allow you to do it, or kids or family get involved. But hunting's the only other thing that we do basically that gives you that adrenaline rush like you get, having to sink a putt, when it's all on the line and whatnot. I mean, knees are knocking, heart's racing, and you got to make the shot,
3.5 footer.
Yeah. I was golfing one time. All right, hear this out. I don't know, I think it was a par 3. And I'm terrible at golfing. I mean, I'm getting better.
Most people are.
Yeah, I'm getting better. I go once a year, and I just keep getting better once a year, and because in our hometown, and I hit the ball, I'm like, yeah, that's going in the water. And, well, that's what other people thought. I knew in my mind it was going to smoke a rock and end up landing like a foot away from the cup.
And?
I two-putted. It might have even been 3, but I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get 2 on this guy, par 3, and yeah, I two-putted it. But
that's like when you hit like the 350-yard drive. Not that I ever hit one 350, maybe 300, right?
Yeah.
And then you lay the sod over the top of the ball with like a 50-yard pitch, and it goes like 10 feet.
Yep. Oh yeah. Been there, done that.
Idiot.
Yep. No, that's why we love hunting. It gives us that I don't know. We chase that rush, year after year, and we wait for it and we work for it, and hopefully, we'll be experiencing that here in a month or so. Well, it's less than a month.
Back to that why, I wanted to see as many deer stories, or hear as many deer stories, see as many deer. I wanted,
Yep.
I like. Give me some mass.
Yep.
I got a deadhead in here right now that a guy gave me this spring, and the thing's got some girth.
Yeah.
Big 9-pointer.
Well, that's why I'm doing what I do. I love talking hunting. I love seeing deer, all that stuff. And this time of year, I mean, my phone this morning was dinging for like 2 hours straight with pictures being sent back and forth, text messages, on strategies and this and that, and food plots. Think I could still, put in brassicas yet this late, or, what should I be putting in? I mean, it's just fun strategizing. And the thing is, every year we're faced with a new challenge, whether it's a drought, whether it's not having time and now you're late getting your plots in, or, all of a sudden a new buck shows up that, okay, what do I need to do now to get this deer on the ground? And that's the best part, is every year is different.
Yeah.
There's not a single year that's the same, by the book. This is how it goes. And there's always different points of views, and just speaking with yourself and other people, it always sparks new ideas, to try new things. But yeah, it's exciting, and no, it's sweet what you're doing here. It's an amazing setup. I didn't expect it to, you sent me some pictures, and I'm like, okay, does it really look that nice?
Yeah.
Yeah, damn right, it looks nice in here.
I love it.
Yeah.
My little man cave.
Right.
All I'm missing is a beer fridge.
You got freezers everywhere, but
maybe once that AC unit gets out of here for the winter, I could sneak a little beer fridge in here.
So how many Beetles did you start out with?
I started out with 1,500.
1,500. What would you say you're at now, roughly? I mean, by looking at it, I mean, could you say you've doubled or no, or?
There's probably 25,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay. Yeah, that's wild.
They say the population's doubling every month.
Every month.
Until it reaches basically, what do you call it? A habitat max.
Okay.
Or like the max
carrying capacity in there.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. So there's a cannibalism, right?
Yep. Sure.
If you're not giving them enough food and water, they are eating themselves. Which
why not?
It's kind of gruesome.
Why not?
But survival of the fittest.
Yeah, right.
Stay alive.
Yeah, right. I don't know, anything else you want to add as far as this process goes? I mean, did you kind of hit on everything?
As far as the process goes, I can do pretty much anything that has a head.
turnaround time you were talking?
I'm going to tell you 6 months.
Sure.
I'm hoping it'll be done before that.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell you 6 months so that in 3 months, when it could actually be done, you're not waiting for me to call you.
Yeah, and kind of like we were referencing when people are saying a month they can have it turned around. Well, the more they can push through, like you said, the more money they can make. But you kind of set a cap for yourself this year, didn't you, too?
Yeah.
Like you're only going to take in so many?
Yep. I'm going to take 150 max. Okay. When I reach 150, done.
Okay.
So, hurry up. Get yours in. It could happen. I'm hoping it'll happen.
You're going to have to shovel a path out here.
Snowblower.
Snowblower. There you go.
I ain't shoveling.
Kids, get out there.
Huntley and Ray. Yeah. Huntley's 4, Ray's 2. Ray turns 3 in September, so, it's her birthday. I might get her a shovel.
Nice. All right. Well, if you don't have anything else to add, the process, where can people find information about you and Skullcraft?
Best way to find me is probably on Facebook. Facebook, Instagram, or Google. Search taxidermist near me, skull taxidermist near me, any of those keywords, looking for a Beetle man. I'll be on there. My number's on there, 320-493-4967.
Then you're Central Minnesota here.
Yep.
Where it's located. And
Sauk Rapids.
So anyone around here, we get a lot of listeners around this area. So
yeah, feel free to text me, call me,
or even if people are heading up north, right? People are heading up north. You know how many trailers I see with deer heading south.
Yep.
Stop on in and
swing in,
drop it off. And
I'm right on the way.
Yep, perfect. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for everything you do. Thanks for teaming up with us this year.
Yeah,
it was fun coming over and checking out the process.
I'm looking forward to some good footage this year.
You bet, man. You bet. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. All right, you guys. Thanks for tuning in this week. Hope you guys are taking care. And, let's get excited. Hunting's right around the corner. Let's go. All right. Take care, you guys. Thanks for listening. Well, thanks again, you guys, for tuning in this week. And we truly do appreciate all the positive feedback that you guys give to us, whether it's liking things, sharing things, subscribing to our YouTube channel, all that stuff. I just looked the other day. We're at 997 subscribers on YouTube, so we're trying to make that push to get over 1,000. And, without you guys, none of this is possible. Also, our partners, Arctic Shield, Domain Outdoor, JNR Outdoors, Skullcraft, The Fish Guide, Tact Cam, and Fourth Arrow Camera Arms. Once again, thanks everyone for tuning in, and I hope you have a great week.